In this video I show you how to get the best physical gems for weapons that do strictly physical, thrust, or blunt damage. So the general setup that you want to use for a weapon that does only physical damage is that you want 1 Cursed Heavy Abyssal and then 2 Cursed Tempering Damp Blood Gems. And the way it works is that the 1 Cursed Heavy Abyssal will increase your strength scaling on your weapon by plus 65, and I don't really know how that mechanic works, but I know that it will turn most weapons into a S scaling in strength. And it's only worth it if your character has high strength, which most people that run Bloodborne, I think, tend to dedicate a lot to strength, so usually an investment in 1 Cursed Heavy Abyssal is smart. But if you're running a pure skill build, or Blood Tinge, or Arcane, and you want a weapon that does physical damage, then you can skip picking the 1 Cursed Heavy Abyssal and then get 2 Tempering Gems. And the Tempering Gems increase your weapon's physical damage by at most 27.2%. That's the highest percentage you can get. Now you get the Tempering Gems from the Merciless Watchers boss fight that appears in the FRC Depth 5 dungeons. They appear otherwhere too, but if you want the 27.2% physical damage gems, then you need to run an FRC Depth 5 dungeon. And the Watchers appear in only 2 types, the Thumaru Ithil and the Is Gravestone. In the Thumaru Ithil dungeon, which is the one you're seeing here, you will get the radial type, so you can see that guy dropped a tempering radial. But the boss fight will give you the best version, so you come out through this door, drop down, and this first boss that shows up here is the Merciless Watchers. So if you want to get the 27.2 physical damage gems, you need to kill this boss. And this dungeon is really good for farming those gems, because it's right here, there's barely any enemies in your way, and the lever is pretty much right next to the lamp, so it makes it very convenient to farm. So visceral attacks are a really good strategy for the Watchers. I kind of struggle with this fight here, which sometimes that's the way it goes, but generally speaking, visceral attacks are really good if you're a skill build. And if you're not, I recommend using any weapon that does a lot of blunt damage and arcane damage. The wheel does both, so it's a pretty good weapon for the Watchers. But even if you have the proper equipment, you can still struggle with a boss like I do. So in addition to the 27.2 physical gems, there's also the Adept gems. The Adept gems will increase your weapon's blunt or thrust damage. It's always one or the other, not both. You have no idea which one it is until you read the item description. But Adept means it increases blunt by a percentage or thrust by a percentage. So the Watchers give you also the best Adept gems. So if you want to farm those good Adept gems, you can still farm these guys here, and they'll most likely not give it to you because it's a pretty finicky drop. But they do drop those Adept gems. So the reason that you would want those Adept gems in the first place is that the best Adept gems come at 32.6%. So compare that to the physical gems, that's a difference of 5% roughly. So for every gem, Adept gem that you have over the physical one, that's an extra 5% damage that you can get. So if you have 3 Adept gems compared to just 3 Tempering gems, that's a difference of 15% damage, which is a lot. And so you can see here, I'm just going through my inventory. You can see that I got a couple 27.2 gems I'm not using, but they all come from this Watcher's boss. In the second layer, you go through this room and you'll see an elevator. Go up through the elevator, wrap around till you get to a door, and then you'll cross a bridge into a room that has the lever. So just follow the path that my guy is going. Watch out for those sages, whatever they're called, that shoot fireballs at you. They can one-shot you, as most things can in the Depth 5 FRC dungeons. Now across this bridge there'll be a door, and then on the other side of the door there will be occasionally one of those big dudes with the swords that can one-shot you. I don't know, they must have telepathy or something, because they can predict you on the other side of the door, and sometimes if you're not paying attention they'll run up the stairs and one-shot you like this. These guys are also weak to arcane. Pull the lever, pop out a bold hunter's mark, and head back to the lamp. I think I'm hesitating here because I was watching a YouTube video at the time while I was recording this. So this boss up ahead is the Beast Possessed Soul. So the Beast Possessed Soul will have drops similar to that of the Watchers, but their gems are a little bit different. So the Tempering gems that he drops will have some physical percentage amount. It's never as good as the 27.2, but they come with a secondary stat. So sometimes the secondary stat makes it worth it depending on what kind of build you're going for. So they're not, I wouldn't call them useless, but if you're strictly interested in high percentage amount in terms of damage that can go, not based on, you know, amount of HP you have, then the Watchers are what you want. So you can see my strategy for this guy. He's distracted by the punch of blood contact. So you throw one, it distracts him, get behind them, do a charge back 2, do a backstab, rinse and repeat, and the boss fight's over. Saw Cleaver works the best. So you can see here he dropped an Adept gem. So he's similar to that of the Watchers. They occasionally drop Adept gems. I believe he dropped a Blunt gem. I think it may have been that one. So you can see a blunt attack. I don't think it's that one now that I'm thinking about it, but it's the same idea. It increases blunt attack and then add flat physical for the second. So that's what makes this dungeon special, is that it was save edited so that the secondary stat that you get on gems is always add flat physical. Sometimes it's add plus 10, sometimes it's plus 12, and then other times it's plus 15. Obviously the plus 15 is the better one because 15 is greater than the other two numbers. And the reason for that is because in the third layer, which we are here, the boss is the Headless Bloodletting Beast. And the Headless Bloodletting Beast drops a Cursed Heavy Abyssal from time to time, which increases, you know, strength scaling. But then it comes with a secondary stat, and if you want pure AR, then you want the plus 15 physical, which is really hard to get, but it's not impossible, so you need to run this dungeon a couple times if you're really particular about getting the best possible gem. So just as a quick side note, you notice that when I was entering that room down below I threw a cocktail. That's because there's two dogs that breathe fire that will sometimes drop down there and gank you. So you need to throw a cocktail to distract them to protect your hide. And then you can also use cocktails to distract this guy. So I throw one, pull the lever, throw a second one, and then I go back to the lamp. You can see he's running down the stairs here. He's not bothering me. Too busy distracted by the cocktail. So when you fight the Bloodletting Beast, I recommend using the Whirligig Saw if you are a strength aficionado. Whirligig Saw is a very good weapon. Pop a Beast Blood pellet. Apply fire paper. Let the good times roll. It also helps that my character is seriously overleveled, but I don't think there's too big a difference with a character that's finished. Like if you have like a meta blood level character, you got some really good high quality gems on your weapon, I think that there isn't too much of a difference. So work from foot to foot. You want to stagger him. You want to break his limbs like you did there, because you can't parry or backstab these larger enemies. So they have a mechanic where you can break limbs, and if you break their limbs, they can. What that means is that that limb specifically that you broke will take extra damage. So I see I broke both of his arms there. So if I hit him in the arm again, that'll get extra damage. And that's the Headless Bloodletting Beast. So he dropped a Cursed Heavy Damp gem, which is unfortunate because that's not the best one. You want the Abyssal type, which I have a couple of Abyssals in my inventory, so you can see them there. So you can see the strength scaling is plus 50.75, so that increases your strength scaling. And then the secondary is add physical attack 10.4. So here these Abyssals have plus 65 strength scaling. So you want that, and then you want add physical attack plus 15. And then hopefully you get a good curse. You pop one of those on your weapon if you got a lot of strength, and that should be good enough. So that one dungeon that we just ran, that will give you one Cursed Heavy Abyssal Radial and then one Cursed Tempering Damp Blood Gem, which is also Radial. And then for the third slot, you want the Triangle. And then you can use the Cursed Is Gravestone one to get the third gem, which is going to be, again, a Cursed Tempering Damp Blood Gem 27.2. But this one gives you the triangle shape. So I'm thinking about making a video explaining how the dungeons work, but the Is Gravestone dungeon gives you triangle gems, and then the Thumaru Ithil gives you the radial gems. And then lastly, the Loran Chalice gives you the waning gem. And the Watchers don't appear in the Loran dungeon, so you can't get the 27.2 in the waning shape unless it's out of shape, which is very rare, so don't count on getting that. But anyway, this dungeon's pretty nice. You just run into here, go up the stairs, watch out for the trap. You can see there was a trap there, I run around it. Kill the brain sucker, pull the lever, go through the gate, and then the Watchers will be on the other side. Now these Watchers differ a little bit from the Thumaru Ithil dungeon in that the drops can give you elemental gems. So you can get fire gems, bolt gems, arcane gems, and those best ones come at 27.2% as well. So if you're running an arcane build, it probably would be a good idea to run this dungeon to get those 27.2 gems, but most of the time they're temporary. And if you have a weapon that doesn't have a triangle slot, you can look up a glyph and go pick up the version of that weapon that does have the triangle. So for example, the Saw Cleaver. The Saw Cleaver has 2 radials and a waning, but the uncanny Saw Cleaver that you pick up in the dungeons has 2 radials and a triangle. So if you want to make a Saw Cleaver that does the most amount of damage in terms of like AR, then you want the uncanny version of that weapon. Other weapons come with a triangle, like the Hunter Axe, I believe. The Hunter Axe comes with 2 radials and a triangle. And then once you do that, you'll have your 3 physical gems, and you'll be killing the meanest, toughest bosses in no time. So again, that's 1 Cursed Heavy Abyssal plus 65, and then 2 Tempering Damps at 27.2. You just farm these 2 dungeons over and over again. You can see them there, and just get the uncanny version of weapons that get the version that has the triangle. Put them on there, and then you'll be good to go.